Alrighty, artists. So one of the things that I wanted to do for students who may be learning remotely is provide an option for you to do this abstract art assignment on a digital platform. So if you feel like the project can't be done with the materials that you might have at home, this would be an option for you to work on Pixlr.com and listen to similar instructions, but just do it digitally. So for example, the project that the students will be doing here in class is with the oil pastels, a black Sharpie, and even colored pencils in some circumstances. However, there's no reason this can't be done digitally. It just will be a little bit more simplified. So every single student is going to get the same set of instructions. So for example, I am going to tell students to start with creating 6 lines, for example, on your project. Then I'll ask you to go in and add 6 shapes to your project. And then I will ask you to add gradients and color to those parts. So there will be specific instructions that you can follow along with during class. And what might even be helpful is writing those instructions down while I go through them on the Google Meet. And then when you're in Pixlr.com, so just a reminder that that's just Pixlr.com. When you are on this website, you'll want to make sure that you used the Advanced Pixlr E so that you have all of the color options that you would like. You will create a new document right over here on the left. And then I'm thinking, as far as a size goes, I don't know if you'd rather do a square composition or a rectangular one, but we could do a web small, would work just fine. And then title it with maybe your name. And then we could call this your abstract art. 800 by 600 works just fine. At this point, you can choose the color that you would like for your background, and you'll probably cover most of this up, so I'm just going to click white and click create. Once you're in here, the cool thing about this is it's just like the students have kind of their blank drawing paper. This is your blank drawing paper digitally. So the first step is going to be working with line and shape. So I'll be asking students to put down a certain number of lines on their project. On the left hand side we have all of your tools here, and you will be using the shape tool for most of these steps, which is kind of far down the line here. It looks like a circle with a square in front of it. If you click that button, there is a line tool here that you can use. So for example, if the instruction is create 6 lines on your paper going from one edge to another edge, you can do those lines wherever you want. You can do them whatever color you want, so you can change that color. I am going to recommend that you start with all of your lines in black. So you can go in and choose the color down here, and then you can move this bar up and down to choose different colors, but like I said, we're going to stick with black to start. And then you might decide to do your lines intersecting or just one after the other. It's kind of up to you. And once you have 6 lines in there, then you will move on to the next step. So it's abstract, it's really random, it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific pattern, remember. So now that I have those lines in there, the next set of instructions is going to be going in and adding shapes. So students will be adding circles to their design. We have on the same shape tool, we have the circles up here and other shapes to choose from as well. You can select that circle, click on the composition, and then you can create circles on your composition as well. So let's pretend I'm going to do 3 circles. I can click and drag in order to create those. The move tool here is what you can use to kind of move your composition around if you would like. And it looks like it's pretty static, so once you have the tools in there, or sorry, the shapes in there, you can't really move them around a whole lot. So once you have them in there, they are kind of stuck there. So if you don't like one, you can always click the Edit Undo tool and go back and change that. So let's say I want this line going through my circles. I can always go back to my line tool and then overlap this. Another cool thing is I can do multiple lines next to each other. I can make some bolder than others. kind of up to you how you want to handle that. So we can do a bigger line here. It's really up to you how you handle this, but just showing you a few options here. If you want to make your lines bolder, you can go in and add more lines on the inside of the one to thicken those up. And then adding color will be a little bit different. Today, for Thursday's class, we're just going to be mainly focusing on lines. So really you're developing your composition using just black and white for the majority of the day, and then we work on adding color the next time here. So have a little bit of fun with that. And then I'm thinking once you have your lines and your shapes established, you can actually go in, and if I were to ask you to do organic lines, which are more curved lines, you could go in and do the pen tool, or look, right here is the pen tool, or you could use the draw tool in order to create lines. So we have different thicknesses that you can do for the line as usual. So we've used a few of these tools already for some of you. You can change the size. If you go up here to brush, you can click the size and the softness. You definitely don't want it too soft. You want kind of a bold line to work with. So once I have the size that I want, again, you can choose the color, just sticking with black for this. When I ask you to do some curved lines, you can go in and use that tool to create curved lines as well. You can imagine this might not be as easy as working with the actual tool, but it's a way that we can still get this assignment done in a digital format. So have a little bit of fun with that. And then I will actually probably do a separate video on adding color, but it is going to be your choice as far as what other shapes you may want to add. So once you are finished adding your circles and things like that and your lines, I'll instruct students that they kind of have the option to go in and add more shapes if they would like. Really up to you how you handle that. So I'm just going to very quickly add some in and then talk about saving your images. Hopefully, if you're working in your Chromebook at home, I don't really like that one. If you're working in your Chromebook at home, you hopefully will have all of your projects saved right to your home page. But just in case, I always tell students to make sure that you are, at the end of every class period, making sure that you're clicking save. Otherwise, Control S is the same as save. You can save it as a PXD document. That way you can still work on it when you come back in. So I can click download, make sure that saves to my clipboard, and then you can go in and open it back up the next day. The other thing that you can do, if you go back to your home screen, and this pops up, is I've seen students click the heart button so that it stays at the top of their home screen. So there's a little heart there on top of your project you can click in order to keep it there in that spot so you can always find it. So when you go in and work on it the next day, then you will be able to access it again. One thing with this is you can work in layers if you would like. If you wanted to add a layer, you could add empty layers that can go on top of the current one that you have. So for example, I could go in and add another circle. And then the nice thing about it is if you add a new layer, you can actually move the shape around. So when you're working all in the same layer, you might not have that option. So if I want, like, I don't know, another circle inside of another circle, I can then go in and add a new layer again, and I can do all of my shapes on separate layers so that if I want to go back and move any of them around, I just click my little arrange tool or move tool, and I can go in and make those changes if I would like. So that's one nice option about doing every shape on its own separate layer. The fact that you can go in and change the different shapes once you have them in the document. So just a few tips for you guys if you go in to start your project. And then again, just making sure I'm clicking File Save and saving it as a PXD, that last option, before you get rolling here. And if you have any questions, please, if you're learning virtually, don't be afraid to speak up. We can answer any questions that you might have about that once you are getting started working on it. So hopefully this video is really helpful. And like I said, if you have questions, pop in and ask right away so that we can get those cleared up before you move on.